That procedure is clearly not for the faint of heart. It's going to ask me, hey, do you want to replace? Yes, this is what we want. And actually, that's it. Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide. So in this video, I'm going to be covering, in the context of MDO, My Daily Organizer, how you can update the PDF file itself without losing the handwriting that's already been applied to the file itself on three different platforms. That would be Remarkable, Supernote, and Boox platforms. I'm just using My Daily Organizer as an example here because it is a real-world example that you can check out. And what is MDO MMP? What is this madness you're talking about? Well, if you go to mydeepguide.com/shop, you will find both My Daily Organizer, MDO, and MMP, My Deep Guide Meeting Planner, both of which are hyperlinked PDF files that help you organize your personal, professional life, or all of your meeting needs. And you can find a lot more information about these in the dedicated playlists that are linked in the description of the video below. But this technique applies to any PDF file that you may have, or any EPUB file as well. It applies to any of these simply because on all of these platforms you have the PDF file itself, and then you have the handwriting file or files, depending on the platform. So some platforms will have one file associated for all of the handwriting, others will have multiple files. It really depends. But you have these two systems, the document and the handwriting content. And they are actually separate physical files, sometimes in even separate physical locations, and the system just knows how to tie them together and display them together at the same time to you as a user. So, if you have a situation where the document has become corrupted, or you want to replace and update the document for whatever reason without modifying the handwriting data, then this technique is something that you can use. Unfortunately, if it becomes that your handwriting data has become corrupted, this procedure doesn't really cover that. This is only for replacing the underlying original PDF file without losing your handwriting data. Just one word of warning before we begin. I'm simply giving you information on what are the procedures that you can do, but you need to be aware that if you are not comfortable with performing any of these operations on any of these devices, you can perform real damage to the files, not the device itself, but the files itself, and you can lose files. So my advice is the following. Just make a test version, somewhere safe on your device that you can use for this purpose and this purpose only, right? To become comfortable with it so that even if you do make a mistake, that you don't lose any data other than the one that was intended for testing. And lastly, I am not responsible for any data loss or damage that may happen to your device or data, because I'm simply showing you a technique and what you can do, but the decision to actually test this and do this is entirely your own, so all of the responsibility for anything that may go wrong if you don't follow the steps correctly or something happens, that it's entirely your own. So that's why, again, I'm emphasizing, if you're going to do this, do it on a test batch of files, and only if you feel comfortable doing something like this. With all of the PAs done, let's start with the Remarkable first. All right, so if you're going to attempt to do this procedure and you need to do this on a Remarkable 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, this is the platform that's most complex and most demanding. And this is due to the fact that the Remarkable doesn't really offer you access to the files and everything on your device freely. So you can't just plug it into your computer via USB cable and then explore it as a USB drive as you can with virtually any other device. However, there is a way to actually do that with the Remarkable, but for that you will need to use a third-party app that allows you SSH level login to your device. If you do really need it, then you can follow these steps along very carefully, very carefully, and then you should be able to actually do this properly. It's really not like that on any other system that I know of, but on Remarkable it is. So this is a medium risk operation that can potentially lead to you losing your warranty or causing some sort of system damage or corruption to your device. So you need to be aware of that, and you need to be aware of that you're going to be doing that entirely at your own risk, and that I am not recommending you to do this, and I cannot be held responsible for any negative or any kind of consequences that emerge from these actions. I'm simply showing these steps for those who are interested and who want to venture into this kind of thing, that they know how to do this. So the very first step is to actually get the login information that you will use in the WinSCP program or other SSH program to access your device. And you find that actually on your tablet by going to Settings, General, then Help. You tap on the About thing, you get to the Copyright and Licenses, and then you scroll all the way down, and then you will see the username under GPL v3 licenses. You will see a section where it actually identifies the IP address, the username, and most importantly the password. Do not share these with anyone, because that allows complete access to your device. In order to actually establish the connection with the WinSCP and Remarkable 2, in those settings you will find two IP addresses, wired and the wireless one, and depending on which one you use, that's the type of connection that you will have. So if you have a USB connection, which is your wired connection, then you use that IP address. If you use wireless connection, then you have to make sure that your device and your computer are connected to the same Wi-Fi, and then you will be able to have a wireless connection to your device. So as you can see, here's my Remarkable that I'm connected to, no wires, Wi-Fi is there, and at the same time the connection was established via the WinSCP. WinSCP, of course, you need to download and install. And when you actually establish a new connection, you will be asked about the username, the IP address, and the password. And those are the three things that the device offers you. You enter those, and you will be able to establish a connection. What I've done is I've already saved my Remarkable 2 connection here. So I am able to simply access my Remarkable by going open, and then it connects to host, authenticating, user, Once it does, now you are inside of your Remarkable on this right-hand pane of the WinSCP program, and default it's going to get you to this folder: root, local, share, Remarkable, XOCHCL, whatever. So that's basically where the content is stored. And as you go along, you will start to see that there's actually some PDF files as well. So we got EPUB index, we got content, we got metadata, we got lots and lots of different things, but eventually you will get to PDF files. And basically these are the PDF and EPUB files. These are the files that you stored on your device. These are your books, these are your documents, these are everything. Unfortunately, the naming is as it is, like it's machine based naming. So while it does make sense for the Remarkable system because it has indexed everything, and it doesn't really help us much because the names are not human friendly, right? So you can't really find the document that you want very easily. So that is the second hurdle. So the second hurdle is how to identify the file name. So you need to make an educated guess and to actually find which is the file that you need to locate. There is no easy or automatic way to do this. There are two sure shot ways of narrowing your selection. And that is, the number one is the file size, right? So if I know that the file size that I'm looking for is around 3.5 megabytes, right? So that's the file that I'm looking for. Well, then I can arrange by size or by size, and then I can scroll until I get to the range of there, around 3.5 megabytes, right? So now I'm ignoring anything that's bigger, anything that's smaller, and now I'm starting to narrow down my selection. The second part that you can then use to narrow it even further down is the actual date. And the date is when has this been transferred or changed, when has the document last been changed. However, On Remarkable, it doesn't mean that if you wrote something in a document and you saved it and it's synchronized, it hasn't changed the document itself. So the change date is basically most likely when was the document transferred and synchronized with the tablet. So that will help you narrow things down. And then when you actually find the area where that actually makes a lot more sense, and I can see here, for example, I have roughly the correct size, 3.5 megabytes here, and I got 4 files here, right? And I got 7th of September. And I know that MDO 2023, I believe, was on around the beginning of September, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those files, and I'm looking for something that's around 3.5 megabytes. So here in the left-hand pane, I'm on a local, on my computer. I have a folder on my computer here. I'm just gonna create a new directory here. I'm gonna call it testing, right? So I created my testing folder, and now I'm going to select the files that I've identified. So these 4, right? So I'm gonna left click here, shift and click to select them, and then I'm just gonna transfer the candidate files into a temporary folder just to kind of copy them so that I can see what they are, because you can't just double click and open directly from the device. You actually have to copy it onto your computer so that you can open them up and test them up. And also you can't open them from the WinSCP, you have to open them from your computer. All right, so now that I've kind of narrowed my selection down and I transferred some of the suspect files that I want to maybe replace on my tablet, I'm gonna test who they are and what they are. And basically, if I double click on any of them, it's going to open up my default PDF viewer, and then I can see, hey, I've really nailed it down. This is exactly what I was looking for. These are MDO versions, right? This is the correct version. And even if I close it down and open another one, then you just test out. And as you, okay, of course it's opening on the other window here. Okay, I got the correct files. So I've narrowed my selection down to exactly what I want. And then you need to make a selection of which is the version that you're looking for. Now, with MDO, for example, that can be easy because you have different cover versions, and then you just see which cover version are you using. And then you find from these which is the cover version that you were using. So for example, if you open up this one, and then you check the page number 1, oh, this is cover version 3. And if you know that you haven't used that one, then you don't care about it. And that method of elimination, you first find which cover version you're using. Please remember that these documents will not contain any handwriting. So you're still trying to identify which is the document that you are going to be using, because handwriting is stored in a different place and it's using different files entirely. They're simply associated with the PDF documents. That's what makes it possible to basically keep all your handwriting and layer the new document underneath and just keep it associated. But you have to do it in a very, very precise way. So let's say that we've identified, I'm going to close all tabs. Let's say that I've identified that this here is the version of the file that I want to be working with. That means that locally, all of this I'm doing locally, is that I don't care about these files, and then I can just move them to unused folder. So I'm just going to make an unused folder here. Even in testing, I don't want to accidentally delete anything until I'm completely done. So I'm going to keep everything. It's very easy to delete everything once you're done with the whole process, right? So now I have the name of the file that I'm looking for on my Remarkable. We are getting there. We've located where our file is. We've located and identified the name of the file that we have, and we're almost there because these are the key bits of information that you need. The final verification that you can do if you want to. So if there's like any doubt that you still have, whether or not this is the correct file, by this point, in 99.9% of situations, it is going to be clear that this is the one that you're looking for. However, if you do need more verification, there is one sure shot way that you can do this, and that is you can, if you know that the last time you accessed this file was like really recent, or today, for example, then what you can do is here in the WinSCP, in the right-hand pan line where the tab where your device is, what I'm looking for is the folder that has this same name. So in order to do that, I'm going to switch to sorting by name. And here I'm going to go and scroll down until, because this is alphanumeric, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so we're F7. Okay, so let's find F7F. Okay, so we have F7F 180EB. Okay, we're getting there. A4BD. A4BD, there we go. This is the folder. So now I have two folders with the name of that file. These folders will store everything that's associated with that document. So the thumbnails folder will contain thumbnail images that are basically what you see when you're going through the document overview, preview, or anything like that. But the one that's not thumbnails, so this folder here, this is the one that you're interested in. Please do not make any modifications here. You are just viewing things here. And what you're looking for is, in this case, I didn't write anything in this document for quite a while. However, if you do have a document that you've used and you've written in, you will find something similar to this. You will find .rm files and you will find a metadata JSON. These are the files that are containing all of your handwriting data that is then being associated with that document. So the way it works for the system itself is that it generates the name for the PDF file. This is its name, whatever, F blah blah. Then it generates two folders, F blah blah folder, F blah blah folder.thumbnails. It generates thumbnails when you're searching the document, puts them in the thumbnails folder, and everything else, handwriting and settings and all that kind of stuff, is set in the corresponding file name folder itself. So this way you can actually identify and confirm if the RM files and everything is updated and it corresponds when was the last time that you actually made entries on the document, and you find the RM files in there that actually match that, then you know with 100% certainty that you are looking at that exact document and that data. And that basically alleviates any doubt of whether or not you're handling the right document. So that is how you identify with almost 100% certainty and 100% certainty what is the where the file name is and what the file name is actually of the document that you need. Why is that important? Well, because we will be replacing the PDF document, right? In case it's corrupt, or in case that you get an updated version of MDO, for example. Maybe there's an update and then you need to just slide it so that you don't lose any of your handwriting, then you just slide that underneath. So the idea is, let's replace the document without interfering with any of the handwriting or any other data. So once you've identified that, then it becomes actually relatively easy because you've done everything that you need to do. So once I've completed that, then I need to grab my fresh copy or the copy that I want to use and replace the old version with, of the, in this case, MDO. And let's say that I want to replace the one that's on my Remarkable with this version, MDO 24, Monday cover 2. It can be any PDF document, this is just a practical example here. So I made a local copy from, this is a purely blank version, unused version, clear version, whatever it may be. And this may well be the updated version if that's the case, or the correct version if you want to change something, or maybe the PDF got corrupted and then you want to replace it with a clean, non-corrupt version, right? So this is the replacement file that you want to use. Why you're replacing it, that's another thing, but this is the replacement file, okay? So all of this I'm doing locally. This is on my computer, right? On my computer folders, you can have it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first rename this is the PDF file that we copied from the tablet, and it contains the name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click at the end of it, and I'm going to add underscore old, just to differentiate that this is the old file. Why will I need that? Well, because the next step is to copy the whole name except the underscore old, so the original file name. I'm going to select it and copy it. Then I'm going to select my replacement file, and I'm going to rename it using that name. Right? So this is why I had to have that differentiation of this is the old file, this is the new file, right? That was the thing. And now when I'm done with this, you can see that here I am in the same folder, local folder. I have this one and this one. All I need to do is basically simply drag and drop the replacement file that we have now renamed on our computer to have the matching name that we need. You drag and you drop it here, and it's going to ask, hey, it already contains that file. Do you want to replace it? Yes. And once you do, it has replaced the file. And now what you have effectively done is you have replaced the PDF file without actually interfering with any of the supporting data that is associated with that file. So yes, the procedure is very, very complicated, and it's not for the faint of heart, and it takes a long time to actually identify and find what you want. But if you are in a bind, you don't really have to lose all of your data. For example, if the document is corrupt or something like that, there is a way that you can actually do this if you're doing it and following the steps in the right way. If something went wrong, you still have your old version locally copied, so that's your backup essentially. And since this is the only file that has been changed in any way on your your tablet, you're not interfering with system files. You're interfering only with the files that you have transferred, your own files, your PDF files, and that is basically not falling into the category of tampering with the system or anything like that. So if you start tampering with the RM files, you are going to get into that territory. But as long as you're dealing with your own just PDF or EPUB files, that's not tampering with system files. These are your files that you've transferred onto your tablet. So that should be perfectly fine. So this method in itself is complicated, as I've said, but it is safe if you follow it and if you feel comfortable and you understand what it is that you're doing. If you don't understand what it is that you're doing, please don't do it, because the likelihood of actually messing something up is very high, and I don't want you to mess up. So do this at your own risk, at your own responsibility, and you need to be the one who makes a decision. I'm comfortable with doing this. I understand what I'm doing. So you need to understand what you're doing in order for all of this to actually be good. At this point, once you've copied your file and overwritten the old one, you wait for the transfer to complete, that everything is finished, and now you can simply close this, say, yes, I want to close without saving my workspace. You close that and your connection with the Remarkable 2 is terminated, and you can just verify the work and see that what you've done is working properly and that the data is maintained and that everything is fine. If something is not, then you connect it back to WinSCP and then you restore the old file, but remember to rename it first to the proper name without the old, because the whole point is that you have to replace the file that's on Remarkable, and that's the only 100% safe way that it will actually work and guarantee that you're not going to mess up any kind of links or anything like that. Anything else, you are potentially opening up the room for the device to actually break the connection between these files, and then that you don't have things that you break something. So don't do that. Do it this way. And if I open up the same file now on Remarkable, it actually opens up at the same page because we didn't change the metadata or anything like that. So you continue working as if nothing has really happened. And you can see that I do have my input here. That was done on July 16 as a test day. But if I go back to here and I flip back, I can see clearly that this is the new version that I have transferred underneath everything, so because I have the new test version here as a confirmation. And if I go back to July 16th, I see that I have all of my handwriting data preserved. One thing to note is that the thumbnail will not be updated. So that's something that you absolutely have to kind of keep in mind. Maybe you could play around with adding a custom thumbnail, but I didn't really go that far because I don't know what the device will accept and what it will not. I wanted to just go with the safest, most minimum amount of fuss of actually kind of what is needed to do this, to replace the underlining PDF document without losing the handwriting data. Right, so that procedure is clearly not for the faint of heart. It becomes easier. It's actually really easy and really straightforward for somebody who's tech savvy and who has confidence and full understanding of what you're doing. It really isn't a big deal, but I fully understand that this is something that can be overwhelming and a bit of a big deal for people who don't fit that criteria. So you have to personally see where you find yourself on that kind of gradient and what you're comfortable with doing, what you're not comfortable with doing. Now let's move on to the Boox platform, and yeah, let's move back to some more civilized methods, shall we? Okay, on Boox devices, in this case, I'm just using the Go 10.3. Thankfully, the situation is a lot simpler, simply because we have direct access to the device as a USB drive, basically, if you connect it via the USB cable to your computer. So, before you actually start this, you always want to make the backup of whatever it is that you're doing, if the file is not corrupt to the point that it cannot be opened, right? So if you are able to open up the file and you want to do any kind of modifications, what you want to do is make a local backup. And you do that by simply opening a file, going to export, and you export it as a new PDF and you save it somewhere on your device. And that's it. That's your local backup. So that's always step number one, just to make sure that if something goes wrong, you have your backup and you can always recall it back. So let's say that we have the same situation, that you want to, for some reason, replace the original version of the MDO document, but keep in mind that this can be any PDF document that you want to work with. So what I'm going to do, I've made my local backup. That's okay. On my device, I've made a backup. Cool. Now I can proceed. So then I would go to the originally downloaded archive and grab a fresh version, a clean version of the MDO document. Or if in case that this is like, I don't know, an update that, I don't know, for some reason there's an update of an MDO, and then you need to slot it underneath without losing any of your handwriting. So then you would select the version, the appropriate version that you want, the clean one from your computer. And I'm just going to make a copy, and I'm going to copy it on any folder, again on my computer, where I'm going to store my files, right? This is just simply putting the files there that I want to work with. That's my folder here. This is on my computer. And just to make it cleaner, I'm just gonna keep it on this side. So that's this folder, right? Okay, so once I have my backup and once I've actually located the replacement file that I'm going to use to replace the file on my tablet, then I need to connect my tablet to the computer via a USB cable. As soon as I plug in the cable and connect via USB cable the Boox device to my computer, depending on the settings that you have, it should, by default, it should appear as a USB drive. So this is something that you can then find at Go 10.3, that's what it's called. And here I have internal shared storage. In case that doesn't happen and you don't actually see your device, what you can do is you can swipe down from the left top side of the device to slide down and see notifications, and then in the notifications you will actually see the USB transfer settings, and there you can tap, and then from there you can make sure that you enable data transfer or file transfer is on. That is not just on charging, but it's actually charging and file transfer. That will and should enable the your computer to actually see your device as a USB drive. So that's your goal. So once we have our device connected, Boox device connected to our computer, and we see it as a USB drive, so remember, this is going to be my Boox side, this is my PC side. So here, I'm going to navigate simply to where the document is. And thankfully, unlike with Remarkable, we have normal naming structures, normal folder structures, normal file name structures as well. And that makes things quite a bit easier to actually find and figure things out. So in my case, this is going to be MDO, and let's say I have 2024, and then I open up here, and here are the files on my tablet, right? And in case, for example, that I want to replace, let's say that I want to replace cover 3 version with this version that's cover 2. What's really important to do here is to repeat the same logic and the same thing as we did with Remarkable. And that is that you need to overwrite the file on your tablet while you're connected to the computer. So the computer needs to overwrite that file, and you don't allow the tablet to actually first copy the file and then rename it and things like that. That is not a good thing to do. What you are aiming for is that when you're copying the file to your device, that it's overwriting the original file. That is the surest way of maintaining the connection. And whatever you do, do not delete the file or anything like that from your device, because the device will perform the same operation that you're doing on both the handwriting and the document. So if you delete the document on your on your Boox device, it will delete the handwriting and it will be gone. You will not be able to recover it. So all of this is why we're doing it on the computer, so that we can slide the new version in underneath everything, and that the device then goes like, hey, what the hell is this? Oh, okay. I'll connect the two up again and everything will be fine. So that's the logic. The same logic applies to all of these devices and all of the procedures. So that means that I'm gonna grab this is my Boox device here, right? The files on my Boox device. And let's say I want to replace the cover 3 version. I will select the name of the file that I want to replace, and I'll copy it. Then on my computer, the replacement file that I'm going to use, I'm going to rename it to have the same name as the file that I'm going to replace, right? So the replacement file has to have the same name as the file that I'm going to replace on my device. I've ensured that that's the case, and when I've ensured that that's the case, now I can simply drag the replacement file from my computer folder onto my Boox folder device, so the folder on my Boox device. Let go. It's going to ask me, hey, do you want to replace? Yes. This is what we want. We want to replace the file. So I'm going to replace it. It has replaced it. And now you're actually safe to close this down and disconnect the device from the computer. And next time when you open up that file, it will ask you, hey, do you want to, I got some markings for this file. Do you want to re-establish connection and embed them? And then you say yes, and it goes through the process, and then you're done. And then you can re-verify, and then you can see that, hey, this actually all works as it should. And yeah, that's the entirety of the process for the Boox platform. And that's how you can actually replace a file and keep all of your data. So now I've opened the replaced version on the Go, and the first time I opened it, it says check the embedded data, and it says merge document data and local data on the device, and that's what you want to do. Only save document data, that's not something that you want to do, because you're going to lose stuff. So leave it at the first option, go OK. And now it's importing data, so now it's merging the handwriting with the new version of the document that we've added it to. Okay, so that's what he said there. But if I go to June 21, this is exactly the input that I've made on this day before doing the change. And if I go back here, clearly I have that this is a new test version. So I have a confirmation that yes, indeed, this is a new PDF file that's underneath everything, and that the handwriting is retained. Well, okay, so that was not nearly as bad as it was with the Remarkable, I hope, because it's fairly straightforward, right? So you make your backup, you make your copy that you want to use as a replacement file, hook up the device as a USB drive, rename the file, replace the file, and disconnect, and you're done. And then you make sure that you embed the data again, and that's that. All right, so now let's get on to the Supernote and see how that works on the Supernote platform. So for this example, I'm going to be using the Supernote Nomad or A6X2. And I already have my files that I want on them, etc., etc. And like with anything else, we start with the backup. So you create a local backup by opening up the file that you want to do the modifications to, that you want to replace the PDF file. So before you do anything, you open it up on your device, and then you go to more options, and then you export it. So you export it locally, you name it as an export version. Usually it's a good idea to use a date so that you know when the backup has been made, but that's entirely up to your own discretion. And once you've done that, then you know that, hey, I've got this, and then I can proceed further because yeah, I got my backup. But with the Supernote, it's actually really cool because you can back up the handwriting as well, which is very, very nice. So the next thing is to create again, you copy the replacement version file that you want to a new folder. Then you connect the device via the USB cable to your computer. And as you do, if you have the USB file transfer enabled, and I believe that's by default enabled on the Supernote, so that's not something you should be worrying about. It will appear as a USB drive, right? And it will be, in this case, Supernote Nomad, right? So it's easy to find. So this is my Supernote Nomad. This is my local directory with the replacement file that I'm going to be using. In this case, I can see the internal storage and the micro SD card slot that's slotted in it. So I'm just going to go into internal storage. I'm going to navigate until I find the document that I want to work with, right? When you look at this and you see the PDF files, which is good, that's your document, but you can also see a very nice and civilized version of your markings or handwritings, and all the handwritings associated with the corresponding document, they are contained in the mark file, which is conveniently named in such a way that it contains the whole file name, including the extension of the file, in this case MDO24 Monday cover 2 PDF, so .pdf .mark. And that way the system just knows, hey, I am associating this mark file with the file name that's in my own name. And then it just knows what to do. That is by far the most elegant solution of any of the platforms that we've seen, because it allows you most of the freedom. What types of freedom, you may wonder? Well, for example, let's say that I want to make a backup of my original both PDF and handwritings. All I need to do is simply select them from here. Let's make a folder here to call it backup, right? So all I need to do is select this and the corresponding the document and corresponding mark file, drag it over, copy it, bam, I'm done. I don't have to worry about anything. I can do whatever I want, actually. We can certainly do the replacement kind of method, right? So like what we've done on both of the other platforms that we covered here. So what I can do is, for example, I can rename this. Okay, so if this is cover 3, then I can just rename it and drag it over and replace it, and it would give me the same exact results, right? So that's all good. But with the Supernote, you can actually do things even way more freely. And that is, for example, let's say that this is and I'm just gonna rename it so that it's much easier and that you can understand what the connection is. And I'm gonna go MDO 2024 replacement just replacement, right? And I'm just gonna grab this whole name, okay? And I'm just gonna drag and drop this onto my Supernote, right? And then I'm gonna go through my backup and I'm gonna make a copy of this mark file, right? So these are my handwritings that I've used in another version of MDO. And for convenience sake, I'm gonna get it over here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the name of the entire PDF file, including the PDF extension, and I'm just gonna paste it so that I have file name, including the extension, then .mark. And now I can simply drag and drop this onto my Supernote, and actually that's it. Now I have a brand new version of the MDO, which may be an updated version, a corrected version, a backup version, it doesn't matter. And I have a brand new set of handwriting.mark file that's associated with the document, and it transfers perfectly and it works perfectly. All right, and as soon as I check everything on the device itself, we can see that we have the replacement file, the new one that I just named as a replacement file. And here is where I copied, so this is the version that I used. And I believe that I used August 5th. And here we go. And these are the markings that I used on the August 5th, and they are the same. So clearly that actually works really, really well. And for my purposes, it's the least stressful and the most secure way to do it is available on the Supernote platform. And yes, I mean, it's the simplest and clearest of all. One file, which is your document, one file for all of your handwriting data, all located in the same folder, named logically, and corresponds via the name itself. Bread and butter system that just works very reliably and is super easy to understand and super intuitive to use, even for non-tech savvy people. And the added benefit is that you have that complete freedom of, first of all, creating the backup of your handwriting notes, which is basically the only one where you can properly do that. You can do that technically on the Remarkable as well, but that's going to be a different video because Remarkable is special. But yeah, for me, definitely I was most comfortable with performing these operations on the Supernote platform for the simple fact that I can just make a backup of everything, and then I don't really care. Even if I mess something up, everything is backed up and I can just get it back the way it was. And just remember that once, for any of these three, once you're done and when you disconnect the device from your computer, please do make sure that you verify what has been done and that you check that everything opens up correctly and that your handwriting is in the correct place in the document and that everything's fine. Okay, I hope that you found the video useful, and I hope that future people from the future also find it useful. If you find yourself in a situation where this kind of stuff is needed for your case scenario. This is something that works fairly straightforward for Boox, extremely straightforward for the Supernote platform, and in the case of the Supernote, you probably have learned also a way to back up manually your handwriting data as well, just to be sure. So when you're doing your backups, you can do them this way, and then you are extra secure because then you know that both your documents and your handwriting is safely secure away from the device or anything else, so that you have a backup. I hope that you found the video interesting and or useful. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell in the description below to get notified when new videos come out on my deep guide. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!